This is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a blessed day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Today I am speaking about Africans, and I'm saying that some Africans really need to get some courage. Africans routinely sit up in chat rooms or on podcasts and talk about Black Americans, and they're looking for something that they have that Black Americans don't have, and they seem to think that it's very important that whatever it is they have that we don't have, that's important to us. It's important to them because it makes them feel good about themselves, but it's not important to us. Look at this video.
They got white names, you know what I mean? Like, it'll be like something Thompson, you know what I mean? Yeah. You'll never see that in an African person. It'll be like Pascal, it'll be Hamada Gogo, it'll be, you know what I mean? Yeah, Kevin, da-da-da. Yeah. They're all, I don't know about like white people.
So something Williams.
Yeah, so.
White people, that's crazy. Nigga said they're odd. They're not odd.
This is a group of Black men airlifted from some African country, whether from a refugee camp or migrated from somewhere big, some white country, to let them come there, or came in illegally, sitting up somewhere illegally, talking about Black Americans being owned by white people and that we have white names. Now, in the meanwhile, they're sitting up here speaking English in a white man's country, speaking a white man's language, chasing a white man's woman, eating a white man's food. The white man tells him where he can work, where he can live, where he can go, and where he can't go. And he's talking about Africans don't have American sounding names. The hell you preach? The average African that you know has an English or Spanish or some type of Western name. They might have their African surname, their last name, but they've Americanized or Europeanized as much as they can. They want to be an American more than anybody, and they are not living in Africa. They would like for you to think that they are proud of being African, but they're not. And the one sitting up there with that toboggan on, looking worse than buckwheat, doing all the talking, you can bet your bottom dollar he wants to be a Black American more than anybody. Because Black Americans don't waste their time talking about Africans. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. The only Africans that Black Americans talk about are the ones on the continent, the real Africans, the ones who are really proud of their country and their cultures and who are staying there trying to make their countries better. And the reason I say that these Negroes, these raggedy Negroes sitting up in here talking, need to get some courage is because the Africa that they claim they're so proud of needs them. And they won't go. All they're going to do is sit up in the West, in some Western country. All of them are trying to get to England or the United States. And they are not in the United States. And the only reason they are not here is because they can't get here. But they need to be in Africa because this is a very critical time in Africa right now. And they need able-bodied men over there because the little country of Niger is about to be invaded. Not because those people have done anything to anybody, but it's because they have something that the world wants, and they decided that they're not going to give it away anymore. Niger is in West Africa. As you can see on the map, it is north of Nigeria. They're pretty much the same people, and all of those West African people were pretty much the same people or closely related until the Europeans came in and carved it up and made these different countries. So Niger is a West African country that is rich in natural resources. Now these are Niger's mineral resources, and they are the largest in the world. They have the largest amounts of these of anybody in the world. They're number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So that means this country is very, very mineral rich. It has uranium, coal, gold, iron ore, tin, phosphates, petroleum and natural gas, and other minerals such as salt, gypsum, limestone, molybdenum, and some of these things that I can't even pronounce. All of these are very important natural resources in the earth that we need and use every day in some capacity. Niger is very rich, but the people of Niger are very poor. These big countries, Western countries like the United States and European countries, hauling stuff out of their countries every day, enriching their countries, and they're living like this. 85% of them do not have electricity. But France, the Western country that continues to rob and exploit them, is living very high on the hog as a first world country. They have electricity 24/7, water, and everything else that they need. Cool in the summer, warm in the winter, and these people are suffering. Niger, like the rest of Africa, was colonized by a European country, France in this case. They supposedly won their independence in the 1960s and 70s from those European countries, but those people never left Africa. They never left those people alone. They never left their resources alone. France cannot function without Africa. Africa is literally keeping France alive. So how France continues to rule over those African nations is that they put what they call puppet leaders in office. So the president would be the president of Niger, but he's really a puppet of France. The French tell him what to do, what not to do, how to run the country. But what's beginning to happen in West Africa, and not a minute too soon, is that some of those nations that are controlled by France are beginning to rise up and say, enough is enough. Mali and Burkina Faso are two West African countries who have overthrown their puppet leaders, and they've drawn a line in the sand and told France to get out. So they're throwing France out of their countries. But Niger is way too important for France to leave. They need all of the resources of Niger. So they want to go to war with Niger, but they don't want to fight Niger themselves. They want to push other West African countries up to fight them, including Nigeria, their neighbor. Until a few days ago, this was the president of Niger. His name is Mohamed Bazoum. He was accused by the opposition leaders in Niger of leading a puppet government for France. So they overthrew him. This guy right here is now the president of Niger. In what world is it fair for you to have the richest natural resources in the world and then be the poorest people? Somebody else is living high off the hog of your resources, and you're running around begging for food because the Europeans are stealing them blind. The Europeans are taking everything and leaving nothing for them. So now the Africans have started to try to fight back. And this is when it turns into a really stinking mess because Niger and Nigeria are bordering countries. And Nigeria has been threatening to go into Niger and start a war and fight them, talking about restoring a democratic government when the people of Niger are supporting this man right here. And I don't know his name yet. I'll have to look it up. But he's the new leader and they're supporting him. But now the West is trying to push Nigeria up to go in and say, well, they're going to go in and restore democracy. And they've got this organization called the Economic Community of West African something or other. And they have pulled together. Now they're talking about they're going to go in and they're going to restore democracy in Niger. And so this is to me outrageous. It's just really outrageous, and not only outrageous, but disgraceful, because it does seem like, and I'm just going by what the news is saying, but all of the news outlets are saying it, that they are talking about going into Niger and and reinstating this deposed leader, this Mohammed man right here. And could I just make an observation for a minute? This man does not look like the people of Niger. This man looks like he's half Arab or something like that. And I can just point out that is what happened to North Africa. You start bringing in people that look like this. And before you know it, the people in that country, the majority of the people in that country will look like him and other Arabs. And now you don't have an African nation, you have an Arab nation. That isn't to say that this man who looks like them couldn't be a crook. There are plenty of them that are crooks that look like him. I'm just saying that at least with people that look like you stand a chance. But if they don't even look like you don't stand a chance in terms of holding on to your country. And this whole thing about trying to be diplomatic and I don't see color, that doesn't work anywhere except in the minds of Black American people. It doesn't work anywhere else. And could we just stop and take a break and look at these beautiful children of Niger and see how happy they look and how beautiful they look in the fullness of their beautiful blackness. So just thought I would do an honorable mention for them. Now, I have taken you all around the world to bring you back to this.
They got white names, you know what I mean? Like, it'll be like something Thompson, you know what I mean? Yeah. You'll never see that in an African person. It'll be like Pascal, it'll be Hamada Gogo, it'll be, you know what I mean? Yeah, Kevin, da-da-da. Yeah. They're all, I remember, like, white people
so
pretty much.
Something Williams.
Nigga told yeah, so...
White people, it's crazy.
Nigga
said they're hard. They're not hard.
Now, what you have here is a bunch of rusty, dusty, able-bodied black men, African men, who are sitting their rusty asses up in a studio or in somebody's house or somewhere in a toilet talking about Black Americans, talking about what we call ourselves. The last thing it was about where we say we live. When I ask you where you from, you say you're from New Jersey. Well, that's where they're from. They are wasting time talking about African Americans who really, they don't have anything in common with for real. Now, honestly, we don't know them. They don't know us. And even you can tell them what the experience is for Black Americans until you turn purple all over, and they'll still sit up and do this. And nobody really knows why they're doing it other than that. Nobody is going to pay any attention to them because they haven't earned anything. They're runners. They claim to be proud of their African ancestry. Now, I just told you what's going on in Africa. And that's happening all over Africa in some way. The people who colonized them in the past do not want to leave Africa because Africa is rich in mineral and natural resources. Overwhelmingly, about 80% of them are under 30. So they're a young continent and they could fight for their continent if they wanted to. But they don't want to. They want to run. They want to run to a place where somebody else has worked hard and suffered and built. And then they want to talk shit. And see, these people are absolutely useless. They are absolutely useless and they need to get some courage. And if they're proud of Africa, like they say they are, they need to get their behinds over there and fight or take a stand with the people who are trying to save the continent for Black people. It is totally useless to sit up talking about Black Americans because we're fighting our fight. We're standing our ground in the way that we can. They are in the majority and won't take a stand, except South Africa. And they say Ethiopia was never colonized. Well, one day we're going to talk about who helped build the Ethiopian Air Force and fought with the Ethiopians so they weren't colonized. But at least the Ethiopians had the guts to fight for their country. These people don't do anything but run, and run their mouths. And they need to grow some courage. The people of Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and all of those countries that are colonized still, especially by France. Those people are fighting for the survival of their countries and for the continent of Africa, and they need all the help they can get. They need their young people to take a stand. And talking about Black Americans is not taking a stand. It's just a sign of arrogance and cowardice. And that's what I think about it. And y'all let me know what you think about it. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Share the video. And as always, have a great day.